Now let's see how a single process behave in its entire life cycle. So when a process is created, when does the process created? Let's say you have this file, maybe a picture file, image. As soon as user double click on it, it starts loading from hard disk. So it is available in hard disk initially, and when you double click on it, it will start loading from hard disk to memory. And before loading only the PID is assigned. So let's say here loading completes and process is ready to execute. So probably when this process is ready to execute, there are more processes which are already before this in the ready queue. So let's say this is the ready queue available, and we have P1, P2 already waiting for its execution, and this process is, let's say, P3. So P3 will go and sit behind P1 and P2 in the ready queue. Okay, so this is rear and this is front, and it will wait inside the queue. This RQ means ready queue. Now when the turn come for execution, so CPU will be assigned to this process and CPU execution will start. And let's say after 5 millisecond timer interrupt occurred, or maybe some other interrupt occurred. So when the interrupt occurred, it will go back to ready queue. We will see this in process state diagram in some time. It will go back to ready queue and it waits there, and after some time again the CPU is assigned. So when the CPU is assigned, it will start execution, and maybe after this execution we need to print this image. So we need to access the IO devices. So IO calls has been done, and after IO has been finished, it will go back to ready queue. So what I mean is, we are never going back after a timer interrupt or IO calls or something happened, then we are going back to ready queue only. We are not going back to CPU execution or running state directly. And maybe after ready queue, the time for CPU execution assigned again, and after this execution the process has been completed, so it will go to terminate, or the process will be killed. So if you see here, a process go from various states. So what are the states here? First of all, it will start loading from hard disk, and before loading the PID is assigned, and after it gets load, it will wait in ready queue. It will not assign to CPU directly, because there may be possibility some more processes are already waiting. It will go and back in the ready queue and it will wait there for its turn. When the turn will come, the process scheduler will decide which process to pick next out of this ready queue. The CPU will be assigned to this and it will start executing. Timer interrupt will occur. Timer interrupt may be the job scheduling algorithm we have used is round robin, and after 5 millisecond the timer interrupt will occur, because 5 millisecond is the time quanta available there, let's say. So it will go back to ready queue and wait, and after waiting CPU is assigned, CPU execution starts, and after some time we need IO devices to print, so it will go to IO calls, and during this IO calls the CPU is not utilized, so this time maybe the CPU can be assigned to some other process, and after IO calls it will go to ready queue again, and then CPU execution, and it will terminate. So this is the whole life cycle of a process generally. So if we see what is the life cycle of a program, so we can see process life cycle is CPU burst time. So burst time is the time spent by a process inside the CPU, or time for execution, then waiting, then again CPU burst, then maybe IO calls. After IO calls it will go back to waiting state in ready queue, and then CPU burst again, and then terminate. So this is the normal life cycle of a process. Now as we have seen, the single process perspective, so this is a single process which is a file of an image or something else. Now we shall see the CPU perspective also, how a CPU look for a process. So let's assume that this is the timeline of a CPU, and right now the CPU is ideal. So here let's say CPU is idle, and P1 came in ready state. So P1 is ready to execute. So ready to execute means this is available in ready queue and we can schedule it. So there is something called scheduler which will pick this process and give it to CPU for execution. So here P1 starts executing. After some time, let's say timer interrupt occurred. So this timer interrupt, in between this timer interrupt, this small time, this is called context switch. So I have told you what is context. We can say a PCB is a context, and here in this time the PCB is going to change. So right now in this time the PCB of P1 is available in memory, but now since the P1 timer interrupt occurred, so there is another process, let's say P2, which want to execute. So before executing P2, we need the context or PCB of the P2. So between this time, PCB will switch from P1 to P2. So we can write down PCB switch also from earlier process to next process. And this time is called context switch. So after this context switch, P2 will start executing. And maybe this P1 is going to sit inside waiting queue because of timer interrupt, or it may go to IO calls, or it may do something else. But since the CPU is free that time, we can start executing for next process. And at this time, let's say P2 wants to make IO calls. So again the CPU will be free and we need to make context switch for running maybe P3 or P1 or anything which scheduler will decide which one to choose next. So CPU looks for processes in this way. Okay, so this is the CPU perspective. Thank you.